Okay, class, so today we're going to be talking about healthy eating, and to get us started, I would like for us to do a think, pair, share. First, I will have you think about this question that I'm going to write on the board, and then I want you to pair up in groups, talk about what you've both written, compare, contrast, and then we're going to come together as a group, and a few of you will be sharing. So first, here's the question that you're going to be answering. You're on a road trip with friends or family, and you know you're going to be stopping at fast food restaurants and gas stations to eat throughout, and also to get gas as a stop. How do you make sure that you eat healthy and to refuse the junk food and fast food with your friends and family? Now, I'm going to have you think about this, and I'll write up the question on the board just so that you can look back at it. And then as the students are thinking, I'm walking around, checking their answers, just seeing what they're coming up with. And then also asking them questions. How would you do this? Or where would you find this in a gas station if they say something healthy? And how can you be assured that it will be at every single rest stop? Also, how would you pay for that knowing that it is more money typically than unhealthy food? And then at this time, I would have the students get into groups, and it is now time to pair up with a partner. Everyone needs to take their own turn saying something, and everyone else will then have a turn to say it as well. I'll let you know when you need to be switching partners, and go. And as the students are getting into groups, I'm walking around, I am hearing what they're saying, and then also just keeping in mind what they're saying and making sure that the students that I hear really good responses from are some of the students who are sharing when we have the big share after I think pair. And then at around this time, I say that you need to switch, let the other partner who hasn't gotten a turn yet speak. Make sure that you again are sharing with your partners. I'm still walking around, just listening, and making sure that they're staying on track for the second half of this think, pair, share, because some of them might already be done. And I'm just looking around the room, making sure everyone's on task. And then at about this time, I'll say, okay, everyone go back to your seats if they've moved around. And now I would like for a few students to share with the class what you've come up with. If I've noticed something that a particular student has said, I might go stand next to them and just kind of say, hey, do you want to share what you were saying? I was listening to it, sound great. Or I would just say it as a whole class. So some of the responses I'm looking for, or that students might say, are just that you can pack food for the road trip. If you're stopping in a fast food place, most of them have like a salad or some other alternative to just having burgers or chicken nuggets and fries. Not getting soda, getting water instead to drink. Also, just making sure if they get at a gas station, not to get soda again, get water instead, and also to maybe get nuts or something that isn't as bad for you as getting a bunch of chips or getting a bunch of like donuts or candy. And then I will write those on the board. Okay, now we're going to talk about refusing unhealthy food if that arises when you're with your peers, when you're with your family, and just making sure that you choose the healthy option. So I have two different scenarios for you to think about. One, you're at a friend's house and they ask if you want some cookies for a snack because their mom has just made some. You are hungry, however, you want to be eating healthier. You know that cookies are not something good to have right after school. How do you go about asking if they have something healthier to eat without being rude or making it seem like they have bad eating habits? And I'll write this question on the board for you to look back at. And I'm having the students just get into the groups because they will be sitting in pods. It's about 4 or 5 students in one group, and they'll just talk to their pod mates. As this is going on, I will be walking around the room, listening to the conversations, and then at this time, I will have them stop. Class, I would like for a few of you to share what you've come up with as a group. Some of the responses that they might say are they can just say no, they don't want the cookies, they're not that hungry. That's one way to not lie. That's one way to not seem like they're being rude or like they're putting down their friends' eating habits, and it's one way to keep them staying healthy since they won't be eating the chocolate chip cookies. Another thing they said is they can just say, hey, do you have some carrot sticks or some fruit or something I can have instead? I'm just not feeling the cookies today. I already had some at lunch. And then at this time, after they've shared their responses, I have a second discussion as well. So when you're at lunch, you and your friend each open your lunches that were packed for you, and your friend sees that you have oranges and your friend has cookies. And they kind of want some oranges because they had cookies already that morning. He or she wants to switch their cookies for your oranges. What do you do? And how do you do this in a way that doesn't make it seem like you're offended by them asking you to trade? And I'll write this question on the board for you. And now at this point, I'm again walking around the room, seeing what their responses are, listening to the conversations, making sure that they're staying on topic. I'm also communicating with them, asking them more questions as I'm listening to what they're talking about. If there is maybe the group is not agreeing on what everyone is saying, I go in and try to mediate that, just say, so what are you saying, and how does this differ with what you're saying, or how can we come to a medium with that? And then at this time, I bring everyone together, and class, so can I have a few people share what they've talked about? And so some of their responses could be that they just trade the cookie for the orange, and that they don't eat the cookies, or they trade the cookies for maybe someone else's fruit of someone who doesn't want it, or even they just have the person who had the cookies trade with someone else who has fruit who actually does want to trade it. Another thing they can do is just say, no, I'd really like to keep my oranges, sorry, and that sort of thing. So now, I would like to have you role play. So first, I'd like you to get into groups of 2 or 3, and now you're going to practice your refusal skills with a partner. So, what I want you to do is some of the scenarios that we've done today, just practice them. So either you and your friend are at lunch and they offer you the cookie for the orange and you just try and mediate that. Or you're at a friend's house and they ask if you want cookies. As well, you can also be using your refusal skills or just trying to think about ways that you would approach the situation of being on a road trip and what you would do for healthy eating. Okay? Go. As you're doing this, I'm walking around the classroom, I'm seeing what they're doing, I'm looking at the refusal skills, I'm answering any questions that they might have, or repeating the roles that they can do for role playing. And so kind of what I'm seeing are students might be sitting at their pods and they're acting out the lunch scenario. One student is trying to trade their cookies for the other student's oranges, and they're trying to discuss that and see how they can do that nicely or how they can do it without offending someone. I'm also seeing students who are pretending to be in a car and either pretend to have packed some healthy food and how they might deal with people saying, why would you pack food if we're going to places, or how they would deal with the situation if they go into a restaurant or a fast food restaurant or a gas station, and what options that they would choose to eat so that they're not eating unhealthy food. Also in the groups of the students who might be playing out, they're going to their friend's house and their friend offers them cookies, and how they would say, no thank you. And then at this point, I'd like you to try one more role-playing activity before we end for a brief discussion. So now I'm seeing the students change around some of their role-playing. Maybe some students in groups of 2 are forming groups of 4, pretending to be the family on the road trip, and how they would deal with family or friends who aren't supportive of them trying to be healthy eaters. Also, seeing students maybe switching partners as well and acting out, or even switching roles in some of the parts that they could do. So the student who had the cookie becomes the student who has the orange, and then they switch roles that way. So now at this time, I would like for us all to come together and just discuss why healthy eating is important. We've been learning about this, but also why it's important to refuse unhealthy foods and how it's important to maintain the healthy lifestyle, even if we're with friends or at a friend's house or on the road. And then I have the students pair up. So I'd like you to just talk with a partner just for about 30 seconds. So while they're paired up, I'm listening to them talking about that. I'm listening to them say, well, when I was doing my refusal skills, this is what we talked about. Or at the beginning, this is what I wrote down. And just saying things that they've learned about healthy eating. So now this time I want us to come back together, and I would like a few of you to just raise your hands and say something that you've learned about refusing unhealthy foods. And so I'd hear things such as students saying that it's important to maintain that with friends just so that they know that you prefer to eat healthy foods and for them to respect that. Also so that it's an expected thing, not something that they would make fun of or think is weird. Same with family. And also just saying that on a road trip, same thing applies, no matter if it's with family, friends, or both. And that's all I have for you today, class. Thank you.